Please start the session, sir.
Yes. Good evening to all. This is Chandra Mohan, ortho physiotherapist from Sri Samraj Physiotherapy Center, Dindivanam, Tamil Nadu. A warm welcome to all for the EXRX India's and Sri Samraj Health Services Private Limited presenting Webathon, a web series. We are enthusing for the world record in the field of physiotherapy, not just counting on topics, but responsibly providing the knowledge for the physiotherapists in India and 24 plus other countries. Apart from this, EXRX India and Sri Samraj Health Services is providing online OG consultation for the women's health related issues in association with Dr. Rupesh, Peak Health Studio, Chennai, West Bengal, Dusar Creations, and powered by Fitness and Rehab India YouTube channel. EXRX India's 217th topic is Research Process for Beginners, will be taken by Dr. P. Senthil Selvam, PhD in Physiotherapy, is HOD, School of Physiotherapy, Vistas, that's Wales University, from Chennai. I welcome all the participants in the Zoom meeting and the viewers from Fitness and Rehab India YouTube channel. And now I welcome our EXRX India team members, Dr. Rupesh and Professor Duna. And now I welcome Dr. Senthil Selvam, our resource person, and I request him to commence the session. Please, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Chandra Mohan, Dr. Rupesh, for giving me such a good opportunity to speak to the students, clinicians, and the researcher who wants to involve themselves in more research activities. So I think it is the ideal platform for them to understand this concept. Not only my topic, they are giving various topics. I think it's a 40 plus topics. So each and every topics might be having various fields in the physiotherapy, ortho, neuro, cardio, and like other innovative topics. Hope the participants will gain a lot from this webinar series. So thank you once again, Dr. Chandra Mohan and Rupesh. And let me start the session with my PowerPoint. Thank you so much. Can you all see the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the first slide. Hope you can visualize everything and hear my voice too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So the research process for beginners. Actually, there are a lot of topics are to be discussed with the researcher. So with this topic is mainly focused over the audience of the students and the young therapist who would like to start the research activity or much eager to do the research work. So this topic and my presentation is mostly focused on the beginners. So what are the research process that we have to keep in our mind when we have to do a research activity or a research? Okay, so the dreams and goals of a young researcher. I just like to have some evaluation, evolution of the physiotherapy research under these dreams and goals of a young researcher. When I did my UG, nearly some 25 years ago, in 1994-95 academic year, when I joined the course. So when my faculty asked me or my friends what you are going to do after that, once you complete your BPD, what you are going to do, the only one answer where all my friends used to give is, we want to become a therapist, a clinical therapist or a physiotherapist. We don't have any other answer or option to tell. At the time, we didn't even think about doing a PG program. At that time, there is no PG program. In 1997 or 98, only we got PG courses in Tamil Nadu. So after that, we joined PG in 1998. After completing the post-graduation, still after 10 long years, we have to wait for a research work or a PhD program to get started. So again, after 2010, we have got a good outcome of PhD scholars and PhD holders. Right now, we have got a good number of PhD holders and a good number in a PhD scholars too. And many aspirants are there to do their PhD, to enroll their names in the PhD program. Once we thought there is no other option, only BPT is there. So no other higher education or a PG for that course, and also we are nothing to hear about the research activities right at that time. So now, if you check with any UG student, you can at least see a subject in the syllabus like biostatistics and research methodology. So 20 years back, we don't know about anything about the research. We were just trying to get more research-related news and activities. We are much less knowledge about the research at that time. But right now, you can see a UG student is having a subject on research methodology. So you can just think about how evaluation has changed. Now it is within the reach. The research is within their hands. So they can do more wonders with that. So who's a researcher? The researcher is not a person who is having a degree in undergraduation or a post-graduation or 10 or 20 years of experience, who has to have a PhD degree in their hands. Nothing like that. To my knowledge and in my point of view, even a student is also a researcher. The student is also a researcher because the student, he does his project work. So once the student does a project in his undergraduation, maybe in the final year or during the time of their internship, that student can be entitled as a researcher. Maybe in an undergraduate course, they might be doing a project. In post-graduation course, they will be doing a dissertation, and in PhD work, they will be doing their, the scholars will be doing their thesis work. Whatever the name we give, as project, as a dissertation or a thesis, the work we do is a common one. It is a research work or a research activity. So hence, I think even the student who undertakes a project work is also a researcher. So few students just ask me, sir, why we have biostatistics and research methodology in our syllabus? Actually, I don't want to do anything with maths, so that's why only I have joined physiotherapy. So these are some interesting things that I get from the student. We should not think biostatistics is a subject. The research methodology is a subject. We should think that it is our career. So it is where we are going to swim into. So we need to know each and everything about the research and the biostatistics. Then only we can shine in our profession, and we can give a very good number of research activities and studies to the field. So it is mandatory to study research and biostatistics at the very basic level. Okay, so each and every student and clinician and an academician will be in the idea of doing a research work. So for those people, this topic is going to be a useful one. So kindly hear what I'm saying, and you can definitely ask your doubts at the end of your session. Okay. Research. So what is a research? What is the definition of a research? So the research, it is an art of scientific investigation. So if a faculty or a staff gives you a topic that is very much new to you, what you will do? First of all, you will just go to a, or you will open a browser in your phone and use to type that, and you can see the answer for the concept. So what you are trying to do, you are trying to search a concept or a new idea which is not known to you before. So when you are going to understand a concept, and you are using more number of a measure to know that, you can use a library, you can use a textbook, or you can use a browser to know about that concept. So research means searching again and again. If you are going to search again and again, it is called as a research. So it is a search for knowledge. The search for knowledge is the research. So according to Clifford Woody, the research comprises of defining and redefining problems, formulating hypotheses, and reaching conclusion. This is not only a definition. This defining and redefining problems, formulating hypothesis, reaching conclusion is not only the definition, it is a process. It is the step-by-step research process which each and every researcher should know about. So what we will do if somebody is asking a new concept to us. So first we need to define that problem. Not only define, that is redefine a problem. After redefining it, we have to formulate a hypothesis. We have to formulate an assumption. So after doing this preliminary works, then we have to go for the data collection. Then we have to analyze the data, and finally we have to test that hypothesis, and we have to reach to a conclusion. So this is the step-by-step procedure in research process. So this definition is a very good definition which summates the research process. Next one, the objectives of a research. For what are the things we will go for a research? It is categorized into 4 topics, or the 4 classification. The first one is the exploratory or the formulative. The exploratory or formulative means if you don't know anything, you want to search a new thing. If you want to search a new concept that is unknown to you, if you want to give an insight knowledge about a concept, then it is exploratory or formulative. The thing which you are going to gain, a concept which is new to you, you are going to explore that, then it is called as exploratory or formative. Next one is descriptive. Descriptive, it is a portraying of a character of a person or a group or a new ideology. If you are going to identify the characteristic of a person or a characteristic of a group, then it is called as descriptive. Next one is diagnostic. It is more clinical in nature. It is useful to if you are going to determine the frequency with which one variable is occurring with another variable, then it is diagnostic. For example, if a smoker is having a constant coughing and other related symptoms, and you want to correlate that coughing with this number of cigarettes he smokes per day and the symptoms he is having. So if you want to correlate this one, then it is the diagnostic study. How many cigarettes he take per day and how much of symptoms he is exhibiting day by day, how progressive it is, and this type of research is the diagnostic one. And finally, the experimental or hypothesis testing. The experimental one, the experimental, research is a research where you are going to experiment, or whether you are going to give an intervention for a condition. If you are giving any intervention, a treatment for a condition, then it is called as experimental or hypothesis testing. So these four objectives are entirely different from each other. One, to know something which is new to us is exploratory, and to portray a character of a person or a group, it is descriptive, and which is more clinical, to identify the frequency of occurrence between the two variables, it is diagnostic, and how effective a treatment is when we give it for a condition, it is experimental or hypothesis testing. So within these four objectives only, the research under the physiotherapy field will revolve. So we cannot miss out anything without this four types of objectives of research. So all the research work what we are doing will fall under any one of this category. Okay. The next one. What are the common types of research? There are many types of research. They are based upon the concept behind it. They are based upon the time. They're based upon the area where we do, and also it depends upon the conclusion. So depending upon these parameters, the types of research can be classified. I will just summate a few in this category. Descriptive is versus analytical. Descriptive. Actually, I have given this as one of the objective of the study. Descriptive it is just portraying a character, as I already told you. What you are observing, what you are seeing, what you are perceiving, and writing the report, it is called as the descriptive. For example, if you are entering into a classroom, you can find 50 students there, 25 boys and 25 girls, and you are going to take the report. This is a classroom consisting of 50 students, 25 boys, 25 girls. Their mark scored by the boys, the average is this, and by girls, this is this. And this sort of statistics are related to the descriptive. It is just an observational. What you are seeing there, it doesn't depends upon it. It doesn't have any effect over the cause. You entirely depend upon what is happening now. It is descriptive. Okay. So if you want to observe a patient for his gait or for his posture, then it is purely descriptive, because it is more on observation. So nothing, you cannot discuss about what is the cause for that postural postural deviation, or what is the cause for the gait deviation. Everything you cannot discuss. You can just write and show what is the current observational status of a patient regarding the posture and gait is concerned. So the cause is not discussed in this. Next one, analytical. Analytical, you have a data with you, and you are going to just discuss about that scenario. What has happened, what is happening, and what is going to happen. That is analytical. For example, if a cricket match is going to take place tomorrow, pre-match analysis will be done a day before, which means what are the strength of the batsman and the bowler, and how they are fared in the previous matches, and who is going to be the key player for the match, like that. These are the pre-match analysis, and later after the match again they are going to analyze it. So it is the post-match analysis. So with the data in hand, the discussion will be going on. Similarly, if we are having a data like outcome measure, pre-test values are there, we have given a treatment, and then again we are going to access post-test measurements. So with the pre-test and post-test values, we are going to discuss what has happened and what is going to happen. So this is an analytical form of research. Then applied and fundamental. Applied, it is purely action in nature. It is purely experimental in nature. It is based upon many experiments and experience of a researcher. And versus fundamental. Fundamental, it is basic in nature. It is basic and it depends upon the concept and ideology rather than the experiments. Okay, it is purely based upon the concept, the theorem. Okay, this machine works according to the piezoelectric effect. This works according to the Lewis-Sankting reaction. This works behind Ohm's law. So any concept that is based on the theoretical part of the concept, it is the fundamental. The next one, quantitative versus qualitative. As you already know, quantity, it is the study of the, it is the measurement. It is expressed in terms of values or in amounts. Okay, so any research work is done based upon the numbers, the values, the amount. It is the quantitative. And next, the qualitative. Qualitative means a quality, an abstract idea. It is the behavior, human behavioral aspect. For example, how we can measure the motivational point aspect of a person, the depression of the patient, the anxiety, everything comes under the qualitative. The projective techniques can be used to measure this qualitative research. Next one, conceptual versus empirical, which is similar to applied versus fundamental. Conceptual, it is based upon the concept, idea, and the philosophy. So most of the thinkers and philosophers use this conceptual theory to rebuild their work. Then empirical, it is mostly practical in nature. It is experimental based, and the experience of the researcher comes into the act. Then next one is time determined research. One time versus longitudinal. One time research, which means you are going to take the result of the study at one point of time. For example, I am giving a short wave for a person. After 1 week, what is going to be the result of that? Whether he has got any improvement like that. So it is a one time. And if you are going to take the treatment at different time intervals, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, then it is a longitudinal research. Okay. Next, the field setting versus laboratory versus simulation. The field setting, this research is based upon the area in which the research activity is going to take place. So in that field setting, so the field setting means the researcher has to come out from his work area. He cannot do it on his own place. He has to come out of his research area or the work area. So he has to reach the client to the society. He has to reach the respondent into the society. So a field study or a field work has to be done under this. Most of the survey, census are under this field setting research. Then laboratory. The laboratory is mostly based upon the limited area or a lab setup. It is constrained to an area. It can be a physiotherapy clinic or a center, or it can be a physiotherapy department in a hospital, or it can be a fitness center. Wherever we are doing, it should be under a constrained area. So it is a laboratory setting research. So it is within an enclosed area. Then the simulation. It is something different from the field setting and laboratory. For example, a research has been done in Australia or in America or in England. So same sort of research work I have to carry out in my place also. So I have to reframe everything. I have to just rebuild the same configuration in my area. So if I am rebuilding the same scenario in my work area, then it is the simulation type of research. Okay. The next one, diagnostic, which is more clinical in nature, and it is medical. Most of the clinical trials, the clinical studies, the case studies, everything done under this diagnostic research. Then historical, which is exactly opposite. The historical, you can collect the ancient documents, the monuments, the remains, everything has been collected right from the ancient time, and you have to see what evaluation has taken place. Evolution has taken place from the ancient time to till now. So this type of research is an historical research. And next one is conclusion oriented and the versus decision oriented. The conclusion oriented, the researcher, he doesn't bother about what treatment is going to give, what method or what treatment, what modality or what technique is going to give. He is not going to concentrate on the treatment part, but he needs the conclusion. He needs the patient has to get treated, and he doesn't bother about what treatment is going to give. So the treatment is not the strategy here, but the conclusion should be the patient should get all right. So this type of research is called as conclusion oriented. Okay. The next one is the decision oriented. Here, the decision or the treatment, what is going to be, what the researcher is going to give is framed, but the result or the conclusion he is not bothered about. He is going to treat it with this technique. He is going to treat it with this modality, but he doesn't bother about what conclusion it will end up. What will be the final result of that study. So it is only based upon the decision and not about the conclusion. So this is the last type of research. Okay, so this is the nutshell of what is going to be the steps involved in the research process. So it is divided into 11 steps. One by one, let us see what are the points are getting highlighted in each and every step. The first one is formulating the research problem. So formulating the research problem. If you see the 11 steps, what I have put in the previous slide, out of these 11 steps, the difficult one is the first one. It is the first one because it takes lot of time, it takes lot of work, it takes lot of efforts for us to do it. Rest everything goes just like that. So the first step, formulating the research problem, it is the first and foremost step, which is going to be very, very important and very time consuming. So if a student is thinking to do a project or a dissertation in his graduation, first he has to select a topic. So what are the strategies in which he can work it out to find the topic for the project? The first one, first and foremost, the researcher, he has to have an interest to do the research. This is the first and foremost thing the researcher should keep in his mind. He should not do it as an induced way, or he should not do it by compulsion. He has to do it on his own, with his own self-interest. So it is the only motivating factor to do the project work or the research work. So he has to have an interest. So first he has to keep interest over the broad area, or a general topic like orthopedics. He should first bring his knowledge into a specific field like orthopedics. Then from orthopedics, he has to choose which one can be the best for him to do. Maybe a fracture, or maybe in amputation, or maybe any other soft conditions, soft tissue conditions like that. So he has to bring the broader area into a narrower one. in general into a specific one. So for that, he has to do lot of work. So he has to bring the biggest problem, he has to narrow it down to a smaller one. So this is the first one. Bring a formulation of a general topic into a specific topic. So this is the first step. And after that, rephrasing the research problem into meaningful terms. So you should not exactly frame the topic as such. He has to rephrase the research problem. It should be self-descriptive. The topic should be more easy to understand. We should not read 10 times and we should not take much of the time to think about the topic, and then only we have to understand. So reading it within a first instant itself, it should be able to clearly understand by the reader. Okay, so it should be rephrasing the research problem into the meaningful terms. So what are the various ways in which we can select a topic? First, it is to discuss with the colleagues. So we have to discuss that with our friends, with our fellow worker. Okay, so we have to discuss among the colleagues is the first one. And then in an educational institute, of course, there will be guides. So a guide will be monitoring and guiding the student from the entire processing. So the guide can give some suggestion to the student so that he can get the general topic from the guide and he can narrow it down to a specific topic. So that works belongs to the researcher. Not everything a guide can do. He can guide and he can put some highlight over a few topics. But it is up to the researcher to take into very good content into that. Okay. For that, he has to go to a library. He has to come across good books, journals, magazines, even a newspaper article is also a very, very important thing. The newspaper article which has some medical issues, the medical pages of the newspaper could be very beneficial. So it can also be a curtain raiser for a topic to get selected. Okay, so so a good library can give a good exposure to select a topic. Okay, so this is the first step in selecting the research problem. The second one, the extensive literature survey. Okay, so you have selected the topic. You have selected the topic. So what is going to be the next step? So immediately you should not start your study. Once you selected the topic, you have to do some homework. You have to do some hard work before you start the work, research work. So first you have to present the topic and the methodology to the synopsis committee. So the synopsis committee comprises of an expert panel where they could just put their ideas into the topic, which can mold further to give a very good research work. Okay, so the researcher has to compulsorily go for this synopsis committee for their submission. One thing I would like to share it to you. What is the difference between a synopsis and an abstract? A synopsis and an abstract, usually at the students level, they will have some misunderstanding between the synopsis and abstract. What you are going to do, what you are going to propose is the synopsis. And what you have did and what is the summary of the study you have done, it is the abstract. So this is the just a hint which would I like to give. Okay, so the first one is in this step is preparation and submission of the synopsis or a summary of the topic to the research committee, the synopsis committee, where they could bolster the topic. They can strengthen the topic with them with some ideas given by the experts. Okay, after that, you have to select some references which could be an added advantage to your topic. So a good reference with recent references, with the latest references, could add more flavors to your topic. Okay, so selection of reference is also one of the important step in this literature survey. So for that, you can just get abstracting and indexing from the published or unpublished journals. From the magazines you can take. So these are the sources in which you can give a proper literature support to your study. So one source will lead into another source. If you are just seeing a textbook and you come across a word, so that word you are going to just go to another browsing mode, and you are going to know further about that. From that browsing mode, again you are going to select a journal. From one journal you are going to select another journal. So this is how the research goes. It's a cyclic process. The research doesn't comes to a single entity. It is a chain of research work. Okay, so the research, you have to start from a point and you have to continue the research process until you yield the exact result you want. Okay, so this is about the second step. Next, the third one, development of the working hypothesis. What is an hypothesis? What do you mean by hypothesis? It is a tentative assumption of the result which you are going to test and draw the conclusion out of it. So this is the hypothesis. It is a tentative assumption of the result where you are going to logically test its consequences. You can either accept or reject the hypothesis. Okay, so at this point, the hypothesis, you have to frame two types of hypothesis: the alternate hypothesis and the null hypothesis. Okay, so the hypothesis will make you to travel in an unbiased way. It will make you to travel in a unbiased way. You cannot you should not give more attention to one sort of treatment, and you should not forget about the another form of treatment. For both the treatment sessions, you have to give similar sort of attention to that. Okay, so the hypothesis will give a good type of data analysis, which indirectly will give you a good quality data. Okay, so this is about the hypothesis. So after the formulating the hypothesis, the next one is the research design. So what is the necessity of the research design? So once we would like to build a house, directly we won't get the money, call the laborers and ask them to build it. It is not going to take place within a prescribed time. First, what you will do? First, you have to put a blueprint. So you have to place the, you have to structurally, you have to make it out where the hall is going to be there, where the bedroom is going to be there, where the kitchen is going to be there, like that. After that, you are going to select how many laborers will be necessary to do this work, and what is the cost of the raw materials and for the laborers. So after finalizing everything only, you have to start constructing a building. Similarly, you should try to put a blueprint for your research activity. Straight away, you should not go into the research. So once you planned a good design, planned a good research design, it will certainly help you out in finishing your research work within a stipulated time, within a few laborers, within the few manpower, within a few cost of that work. So everything is going to be minimized with the maximal output with the thesis. Okay, so this is the research design. And what is the purpose of the research design? It is going to be the 4 research purposes: exploration, description, diagnosis, and experimentation. These 4 research purposes are similar to the objective of the research. So they are both similar to that. So depending upon the purpose, the design will vary. So let us go into some of the research design. They are the true experimental design, the quasi-experimental design, the pre-experimental design, and non-experimental design. So these are the 4 main research design which you are going to encounter. And how to select a design? How to select the designs like true experimental, quasi-experimental, non-experimental, or pre-experimental. So it is based upon 3 criteria. That it is based upon 3 characteristics. What are they? First is randomization. Second thing is the control group, and next one is the manipulation of the independent variable. So these are the 3 criteria which will select the type of design, research design. First one is randomization. You have to select the samples randomly. So if you are going to select randomly, it is going to be a experimental study. Next one is control group. The research that you are going to do should have a control group. Control group in the sense you are going to treat with a conventional treatment. You are not going to treat with a special or an intervention. Okay, it should be given a conventional way of treatment. So it is a control group. And finally, a manipulation of an independent variable. So manipulation of independent variable in the sense, it is the ability of the researcher to give a treatment, that is to provide a treatment or to withhold a treatment. If the researcher is having the ability to give the treatment or withhold the treatment, it is called as the manipulation. For the experimental group, is going to provide the treatment, and for control group is going to withhold the treatment. Okay, so this is called as the manipulation. So if all these 3 factors or the characteristics are present, the randomization, the control, then the manipulation, then that research design is called as true experimental design. It is called as true experimental design. So some of the examples for true experimental design: post-test only design, Solomon 4-group design, factorial design, and counterbalance design. So this is how the description or the formula is laid for true experimental group. So the first one, it is the true experimental design, where we have got R, O, X, O. The R, it is the randomization. So first you are going to select the samples randomly. So randomization is one of the criteria, as I already told you. So here we are having R, randomization. So after that, again you can see 2 lines. The first one is experimental and second one is control. Experimental group, control group. So it has got control group also. So it fulfills the second criteria of control group. Next, the third one. The first group, the experimental group, you can see that it has been pre-tested and post-tested. Whereas in the second one, it is only post-tested. Okay, the next one is post-test only design. The post-test only design, you have got the randomization, or you have got a control group, and you have got the manipulation. One group is having X, that is the treatment, and another group doesn't have X, that is the control group. Okay, so putting the first two categories together, it forms the Solomon 4-group design. Solomon 4-group design, which has got all the 4 ingredients which has been already discussed. Okay, next the counterbalance design, which has got a randomization. After randomization, we are going to pre-test, and we are going to give a treatment A, and again we are going to take the outcome measure, and we are giving treatment B, and again we are going to choose check the post-test measurement. So what is the difference between the 2 steps and the counterbalance test? Here we are giving X1 first and X2 next, and the second one, X2, we are giving it first and X1 the next one. So here we can understand which modality, if we give the first, will be beneficial, and which we are giving the next one is the beneficial. So according to this, we can do a study. Whether to give a shortwave first or to give an IFT first. So this type of research is called as the counterbalance design. Okay, next one is quasi-experimental design, which is something different to true experimental design. In true experimental, you have got 3 criteria. First one, the manipulation, the control group, and the randomization. Out of these 3, if any one is missing, then it is the quasi-experimental design. Out of 3, if one is missing, it is quasi-experimental, and it is called as it has got 2 types of research design: non-equivalent control group and interrupted time series design. And the next one, pre-experimental design. Out of the 3 criteria, out of the manipulation, the control group, and first one is randomization. If 2 are missing, then it is called as pre-experimental. Example, one-shot case study and pre-test, post-test design. So here you can see the quasi-experimental design, non-equivalent control group design. What is missing here? You can see the pre-test and post-test O is there, and you can see the intervention, the manipulation is given, but what is missing? The randomization is missing. Okay, since the randomization is missing, you have got only 2 characters. You have got only manipulation and control group, and now it is called as quasi-experimental. Okay, next, in time interrupted series, here you don't have randomization again. At the end of, you are going to take the measurement at the end of first week, then the second week, at the third week, again you are going to give a treatment here. X is the treatment, the intervention. Again, you are going to measure after the 4th week, 5th week, 6th week. So this type of measurement of the outcome measures is called as the interrupted time series design. And next one is pre-experimental design, which I already told you. Here you are missing 2 characters out of 3. So out of the 3, you are missing randomization and control group here, XO. It is called as one-shot case study. And another thing is pre-test, post-test design. Here also you are missing randomization as well as the control group. So since 2 characters are missing, it is called as pre-experimental design. And finally, the last one design is the non-experimental design. So non-experimental design, you are going to miss all the 3 characteristic features. That is the manipulation, the control group, and the randomization. If all 3 are missing, then we call it as a non-experimental design. Of course, we used to tell this as an observational study. You are just observing. You are not giving any treatment. You are just observing the nature of the condition. You are just observing a gait. You are just observing the posture. You are just observing the power grip. So this type of study is called as non-experimental or observational. So the examples are survey, design, passive observational design, and ex post facto design. The next one, the next step is the sampling. You are going to sample. How many samples you are going to take and how we are going to do the sampling. This is the step where you are going to do that. So how we are going to do and how much sample you are going to select. It is the step where we are going to finalize it. Okay. The sampling, there are two types of sampling. One is probability sampling and another one is non-probability sampling. What do you mean by probability and non-probability sampling? The sampling which I am going to do without my knowledge. If I am a researcher, I'm going to do a research. I'm not going to select the samples on my own. I'm going to choose it on a probability by the method of lot or any other probability measures. If it is the case, then it is called as probability sampling. Even the researcher doesn't know who is going to be the sample or the patient for his research work. The second one is non-probability sampling. In the non-probability, the researcher himself, I myself can select the samples. I can select my own samples. So this is called as a non-probability. So the first one is probability. Under this probability sampling, you have simple random sampling. Simple random sampling where I can choose the samples by putting a lot. I can put a lot, shuffle it, by blindfoldedly I can take a lot out of that. So it is a simple random sampling. Also it can be done under the table, simple random table method. So it is also one of the measures to select the simple random sampling. Next one is systematic random sampling. There are 100 students in the class and I need 10 students out of that. So how can I select it? I'm going to divide the 100 students into 10, 10, 10. So 10 batches I'm going to divide and each batch has got 10 students. Okay. So for the first batch, for the first 10 students, I'm going to select the student by lot or by table method. If I'm going to select the number 5, the 5 has got selected in the first batch, and in the second batch I'm going to add plus 10 to that, 15. I'm going to take 15, and then in the third batch I'm going to add up another 10 and choose 35. So like that, each and every batch I have selected 5, 15, 25, 35, 45 up to 95. So this is how the systematic random sampling is going to take place. And next one is stratified random sampling. In stratified random sampling, it is done in case of if the group is not homogeneous. It consists of heterogeneous group. It doesn't have any homogeneous group, then you can go for the stratified random sampling. You can select the stratas or the groups among the population. Among the population, you have to select the stratas or the group of people. In that stratas, you are going to randomly select the samples. So first stratification and then sampling. So this is called as stratified random sampling. Next is cluster sampling. Cluster sampling, it is not selecting the samples individually. It is selecting the sample as a cluster, as a batch. If I want to select 50 students from my college, if I'm going to select the final year students out of that, I'm going to select them as a batch rather than selecting from each and every year, first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Instead of selecting samples from each and every year, I'm going to select the samples wholly from a single group from the final year. It is called as the cluster sampling. Okay. Then the multi-stage sampling. It is conducted for if the sampling has to be done at the larger scale, national wide. First, I'm going to select the samples from the national wide. From that national wide, I'm going to select from the single state. After the single state, I'm going to select the samples from the selected districts, to a selected village. So like that, I'm going to streamline the process from a larger scale to a smaller scale. It is called as the multi-stage sampling. And next, last one is the sequential sampling. Sequential sampling, the number of samples to be selected is not predetermined. I'm going to keep an entrance test. I'm going to keep a test. Out of 1,000 students, 600 got passed. So I'm going to select the 600. Next, I'm going to keep some interview for them. In this round, I can select another 400 from that. So from 400, I'm going to choose another aptitude test. I'm going to select another 259 students got passed. So this 259 students is going to be the sample size. I'm not going to prefix before the selection itself. I'm not going to prefix. I'm going to take 100. I'm going to take a 50, not like that. Whatever the result I'm getting at the end of the sampling, I'm going to take that entire samples as my study sample. Okay, so this is the sequential sampling. Next one, non-probability sampling. In this 4 types, 3 is purely non-probability sampling. The 3 is purely non-probability, purposive, convenience, judgmental, and only one sampling which is here, quota sampling. It comes both under probability as well as non-probability sampling, quota sampling. Quota means the researcher can himself use the quota. So we used to have some quota system in selecting the students. Maybe in a college admission or maybe in recruiting any institutions, the management has got a separate quota for filling the necessary candidates. So it is selected on purely on their personal basis. Okay, so it is quota sampling, and like that we have purposive sampling. If the sample is very much easy to access, if the sample can be easily accessed by the researcher, then it is purposive sampling. Convenience sampling, if the sample is more comfortable, he is staying nearby, he is a friend of the researcher, like that, it is more convenient for the researcher to take him as a sample. It is the convenient. And similarly, judgmental. If you think if you are adding this sample to your study, you will be getting a good result, then it is a judgmental sampling. Next, the methods of data collection. The next step is how we are going to get the data. There are many varieties of selecting the data, but these are the most commonly used. Among this, they are observational method, observing. As I already told you, this is a descriptive type of research work. Just by observing, you are not going to talk to the patient or talk to the client. You are just going to observe the attitude of the patient. You are just going to take the record out of it. More subjective answers cannot be yielded to the researcher. Based upon the observation only, you can get the information. Okay, so observational. And next, you have personal interviews, where the interviewer asks many questions to the clients. So the question should be structurally framed. Then only you can get a better result or better answer from the client. Okay, so it is up to the researcher to ask a good question and to get a good answer out of it. So it is the talent of the interviewer. Next is by telephonic interviews. If the research has to be conducted in a large scale, it is difficult to go in person or select some other approach. So it is easy to do a telephonic call and get the information. Okay, and then mailing of questionnaire, it is also similar to telephonic interview, where the questionnaire or the schedules are being given to the respondent or the client. where the client fills up everything and replies it back to the researcher. So this is cost effective, but it takes some time to get the information. Okay, so this is about the data collection. And next one is the data analysis. After getting the the data has been collected, what is the next step? You have to analyze those data. You have to place it in a right sense. You have to give a good select the good statistical tool to calculate the collected data. Okay, so for that, what are the various steps in this data analysis? First is coding and editing. So you cannot enter all the data given by the client line by line. You cannot write 10 lines or 12 lines or a page. Simply you can write it through coding method. You can use symbols to code. If it's telling some signs and symptoms, everything, instead you can write it as 1, which will resemble to the signs and symptoms. 2, 3, 4, like that you can give a number or a code so that it will be easy to record. Okay, and then after coding, it is the editing work. So editing, it is one of the important step in research in the data analysis. So a good editing will give you a well and a very good data for you. The data which you yield will be more genuine and it will give you a good result. Okay, so proper editing should be there, and then all the edited works has to be put it in a tabular column. It is called as a tabulation. So tabulation is a construction of a table with rows and columns. So it should be sequentially ordered in a chronological way. Okay, so a proper tabulation will be easier to work it out further. Okay, the next one is calculation. So whatever the data you put in the table has to be calculated with the right formula. Okay, so final step in the data analysis is the calculation. Next one is the data analysis. So what statistical tool you are going to use? Okay, so a right statistical tool will give you a good result. Okay, just these are the categories in which you can do the statistical analysis. They are the descriptive and inferential. Under descriptive, you can go for frequency distribution, measures of central tendency, and measures of dispersion. And in inferential statistic, it is testing of hypothesis method. You have to test the hypothesis. But to test the hypothesis, the following formulas can be used, like chi-square test, the t-test, and the f-test. And next, these are the just the terminologies are used in frequency distribution. No need to describe each and everything as the time is much limited to us. The tabulation, the bar, the diagram, the histogram, polygon, frequency curve, and cumulative frequency curve, everything comes under frequency distribution. And next, these are the measures of central tendency, arithmetic mean, mode, median, geometric mean, and harmonic mean. So it is up to the researcher to select a correct measure to work out his data analysis. If arithmetic mean is needed, you have to use that. If geometric mean is needed, you should use that. If harmonic mean is needed, you have to use that. You should not change the measure. So ultimately, you need to know the purpose of the study. Next one, dispersion. Again, you have range, interquartile range, the standard deviation, the variance, the mean deviation, and the coefficient of variation. Okay. So after completing the data analysis, it is the time for us to analyze the result. So we have got the result. The result is with us. And what we are going to do that? First thing is the interpretation of the result. you are going to interpret the result. So before that interpretation, you have to go for the testing of hypothesis. Previously, you have did the formulation of hypothesis. Now we have to test the hypothesis. The testing of hypothesis can end up in both the ways. Either you have to accept or reject the hypothesis. Okay. So based upon acceptance or rejection of the hypothesis, the generalization and interpretation has to be made. Okay. So what do you mean by generalization? For example, you are given the treatment for 30 OA patients, OA knee patients, okay? And you have got a result that using IFT, you have gained a lot, you have decreased the pain, and the range of motion got improved, the ADL got improved, everything, okay? So for the 30 patients, you have proved that it is effective. In generalization, you are going to say that not only for this 30 patient, but for all the patients who are having OA knee, it is going to work out. So you are going to generalize the result, not only for the 30 patients, but it is going to work out for the other patients with similar OA knee. So it is called as generalization. You have to generalize the report. After interpretation, you have to generalize the report. And next one is the research reporting. You have to report the research work. If you are a UG graduate, if the student is a UG student, he has to work it out through his project. For a PG student, he has to going to do it with his dissertation, and a PhD scholar has to going to do this with a thesis work. So how we are going to present the research work? So it is the layout of the research report. So the layout should have three components: the preliminary pages, the main text, and the end matter. These are the three steps, these are the three ingredients that should be present in the research work. The preliminary pages, it should have the title page, it should have a certificate page, it should have an acknowledgement or a forward page, it should have a table of contents. The table of content, in that it should have a chapters, it should have a list of figures, it should have a list of graphs. Everything should be listed out in the preliminary pages. And next is the main text. In that main text, we have to start with the introduction. Then you should have the literature support or the literature review for that. And you should have the methodology part. After that, the discussion part. And finally, it should have a conclusion. So these are the chapters that should be included in the main text. And the last one is the end matter. End matter, it is the last part. So what we used to have, the consent form, the consent letter, and the annexure pages. In the annexure pages, it should have the data collection. What are the data collection form, and the questionnaires, the index, and if possible, it should have the master chart. Then it should have a reference and bibliography. So these are the part should get included in the end matter. Okay. Okay. So after completing the research layout work, you can certainly present it to your concerned authorities for sanctioning your project. So this is a vast topic which I have comprised within an hour, within 1 hour. So each and every step can have its best content to discuss in the future discussions. Thank you so much. So I leave it to the organizers to proceed further.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. Yes, I remember that I was doing my UG that time. MPT has been started.
Yes, sir.
And there were no books also, even for MPT.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very difficult situation, and
Yes,
we
sir.
don't have
Yes, sir.
professors and teachers also to teach for MPT.
Yes, sir.
Uh, all the MPT students sit whole day in their library.
Yes,
and
sir. Exactly.
Yes, sir. I
Yes,
have
sir.
seen many, and immediately within 2 years they didn't come out. Hardly 1 or 2 they came out,
Yeah.
passing their exams.
Yeah.
And, those 2 years they joined by 98 or 98. They passed out in 2002.
Yeah.
Yes, and those who came as an examiner, they said that this is not enough. Again, you do first year. Again, you do second year.
Yeah.
Time is there. So it took
Yes, sir.
more than 3 or 4 years for them.
Yes, sir.
I remember all those days, even my
Yes, sir.
seniors,
Yes, sir.
MPT. And when they came back,
Yes,
I
sir.
was doing
Uh,
internship.
uh,
That was the moment I felt that there is so much,
uh,
because they came as a professor,
Yes, sir.
coordinator for internship students.
Yes, sir.
And they started teaching entirely in a different way.
Yes, sir.
How to read X-ray, how to read MRI, many things,
Uh,
and how to do proper assessment of the
yes, sir.
patient, and many things. The changes started there.
Yes, sir.
And as you said that nowadays everything is available for
Yes,
the
sir.
first year
Within the
student.
reach. Yeah.
And to be frank with you, recently, yes,
Yes, sir.
first year student presented a topic by the students,
Yes, sir.
and he was even a fourth year student or even an MPT student may not be presenting like that.
Yes, sir.
Collected all that much details and presented it like a professor. So that much
Sir.
things are available.
Yes, sir.
I agree
Nowadays, the
with
students are very much smart, sir. The students are much smart. So the staff has to be double smart for them to express the content.
Yes, sir. Once the lockdown gets over,
Yes, sir.
yes, the things should be maybe changed. I
Yes,
cannot
sir.
be saying that should be changed.
Yeah.
Maybe changing, sir. Scenarios even in live classes,
Yes,
and in, live case presentation, or
Yes, sir.
live treatment of patients in front of
Yes,
their
sir.
professor. Everything
Yes,
will
sir.
be. I hope there will be more questions will be arised in classroom.
Yes, sir.
If there is any, at least 10 to 15% of changes
Exactly,
come,
sir.
we should
Exactly.
welcome.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
this lockdown brought minimum 400 or 500 resource persons in our own field.
Yeah, exactly, sir. Yeah.
So changes are constant. We should adjust, and those
Exactly.
who are getting adjusted will grow further.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for a wonderful session. We'll go back to question and answer session.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, sir. There is question from, yeah, sir. Yeah.
Please take care.
There is question from Miss Shreya. Sir, is formulating the research problem is similar to creating a hypothesis of our research?
No, hypothesis and formulating the problem is different, and formulating the hypothesis is different. Formulating the problem, as I already told you, it should be done in two steps. First, it has to be selected in a broader sense, and then it has to be narrowed it down. So this is how proper topic selection should be done. For in case of hypothesis, it is entirely different. Why we are choosing an hypothesis? Before starting the treatment, we should not go in a single track. We should not concentrate on only one sort of treatment. We should focus both the track with the same attention. So for that, it is necessary to fix the hypothesis. That's why I told you it should be a null hypothesis, which means it should be there is no difference, significant difference between the two contents, and the alternate hypothesis which is exactly opposite to that. We are going to tell either one among the two is going to be the best, like that. So it is entirely different, and the topic selection and the hypothesis is not the same thing. It is a different scenario.
Fine, sir. Next question from Mr. Nambiraja.
Yes, sir.
Sir, what are the strength and weakness of non-experimental research?
Strength, non-experimental, as I already told you, the observation study is a non-experimental one. So observational study, it only the current scenario has been analyzed. What has been happening, or what is the present scenario, we are just noting it down. We are not bothered about the cause. We are not bothered about why it has happened. For example, if I am going to see the observation on a gait or a posture, I'm going to see what is happening in that. What is the stance phase and what is the swing phase, like that. I'm going to take it. I'm not bothered about what is the cause for this gait. I'm not going to bother what is the cause for this posture. I'm going to just work it down with what is happening right now. I'm not bothered about the cause. So as a data collection procedure, it can be a strength, but as a clinician who is going to handle that parameter, it is a weakness because the cost is not taken into the account.
Yes, sir.
So it is a type of ex post facto scenario, a non-experimental study.
Fine. And few thank you messages in between. And next
Yes.
question is from Dr. Neelima Roda.
Yes.
Sir, can you please explain main text?
Main text, actually I told you there are three contents in it. The first one is the preliminary pages, the next one is the main text, and third one is the end matter. So in that main text, it concentrates more on the clinical part. That is what is the introduction, what appropriate introduction we are going to give about the condition, or about the treatment, or about the methodology. That thing we are going to discuss in the introduction part, and after that we are going to give some supportive documents for that in the form of review of literature. So in that review of literature, as an upgraded one, rather than taking research, rather than taking a review from an article, it will be good enough to give an appraisal to that, critical appraisal of the research report. So how we are doing a movie review, what are the positives in the movie, negative in the movie, not only we are just discussing about it is a very good movie, nothing like that. We have to discuss about each and every lines of the summary given by that previous researcher. So critical appraisal should be done to that review. So that is the next one. And third one, the method, the aims and objective. The proper aims and objectives should be given. Next one is the methodology part, where this study setting, the inclusion, exclusion criteria, the procedure, the outcome measure, everything has to get included in the main text. Followed by that, your analysis part, later on the interpretation, and finally the discussion and conclusion. So these are the things that should be present within the main text.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Next question is from Ms. Kausalya.
Yes.
Can you please explain? Sorry, again the same question I read. Few appreciations in between. While going down.
Just a minute, sir. I will put the charger for my laptop. You just continue.
Sure, sir. Duna ma'am, any questions in YouTube?
Questions have come, Rupesh.
Ma'am?
Only a few appreciations are there.
Yeah, ma'am.
Dear YouTube viewers, you can write your questions in your live chat box in YouTube. and we will be reading your question in our Zoom meeting so that you will get the answers.
Yes, sir. Next
Yes, sir.
question is from Dr. Fayaz Khan from School of
Yes.
Science.
Yes, sir.
How enteral tendency can be considered as per clinical aspect, like in therapeutic outcome, and the factors influencing or affecting it, sir?
Okay. As I already told you, there are two types of statistics, descriptive and inferential statistics. These are the two statistical tools which we normally use. Okay. In case of clinical experiments, based upon the objective of the research, as I already told you, there are four types of objectives of the review: exploratory, diagnostic, and then experimentation, and descriptive. So in case you are taking descriptive as the objective of the study, the objective of your research work, then of course you have to go for the measures of central tendency. Like mean, median, mode. It will give you the good idea for doing the descriptive statistical work. If you are going to give a treatment, if you are going to give an intervention, if you are going to give any treatment protocols, then of course this measures of central tendency won't be effective. You have to go for testing of hypothesis, where you could use the t-test, the f-test, and z-test, the chi-square test, which will be the appropriate tool. So depending upon the objective, if it is going to be a comparative study, or if it is going to be to find the effectiveness of a treatment, certainly you have to go for testing of hypothesis, and you should not go for measures of central tendency like mean, median, or mode. If you are going for an observational study, you are not going to give any treatment for that. You are just going for a non-experimental study. At that time, you cannot use the testing of hypothesis. Rather, you have to go for the measures of central tendency and dispersion.
Yes, sir. Next question is from Miss Shalini.
Yes.
Ma'am was having doubt for a long time, it seems, so she
Yeah.
wants to clarify it here.
Yeah.
Why we should need a mother article to start a research? We know the effects and contraindications. Why can't we frame a topic without mother article with the help of textbook references?
No. Research, as I already told you, it has got a very good evolution for it. So in 1930s, what was the scenario at that time, and how it got developed in 1950s, 60s, 70s, and recently after the year of 2000. So only with the references or with the mother articles only, we can find the effectiveness of the current scenario. So how much we have developed. So certainly we need a mother document to start the, it could be a curtain raiser for our own topic. The mother article should give us a spark. So with that spark, we have to rebuild our own ideology. We can do it. So for the two concept, we can have the mother article. One, to know about the effectiveness of the current scenario, how much the research has gone by, and also to choose a particular content from the previous topic. We cannot select on our own. We have to depend upon any other mother article or parent document. With that only we can start our own research activity. So for these two purposes, for how much the evolution of research has taken place in a particular field, and also to get a knowledge about the idea of what we are going to do. For these two purposes, we need the mother article.
Yes. Hope ma'am is fine with the answer. Next question is from Mr. Satyaraja. Thank you for detailed presentation. How to reduce the errors and falls in research? Can you explain in details?
Yeah, it can be done in all the steps. It can be, it should be done at all levels of research, right from the selection of a topic till the data analysis, what statistical tool we are going to use. We can increase the number of samples. If we increase the number of samples, the errors can be less. The statistical errors can be less. And also the method of data collection. If we properly do the data, if we are properly getting the data from the work we do, we can enhance the quality of work from that point of view. Okay, so it cannot be a single answer. Even the sampling, the sample size, the sampling techniques, the data, the tool we use, the data analysis, each and every step has its own advantage to reduce the errors. So it cannot be a single entity for this question.
Yes, sir. And how to avoid these errors, sir?
How to avoid
These errors?
threats?
Errors.
Yes, that's why. If you are properly using the correct statistical tool, if you are correctly using the formulas, and if you are correctly using the samples, and the dropouts, everything has to be omitted, and we have to properly select the inclusion criteria, the threats for the validity, internal and external threats, the history, the maturation, the instrumentation. So these are the various threats to the validity. So if this is going to be get reduced or stopped, we can get a very good result. We can avoid all the errors.
Yes, sir. Duna ma'am, any more questions in YouTube?
Let me check once more.
Yeah, please.
Questions yet. I think no questions from YouTube. The viewers are satisfied, I think. Only appreciations are there.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we conclude then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions, participants? No. Okay. Thank you so much, Senthil Selvam sir, for
Thank you, sir. Chandramohan sir, Rupesh sir. Thank you so much for giving us such an good platform for me to meet the participants rather than being as an academician more towards my work schedules, exams, online classes. So this has been a different scenario for me to meet the participants. So hope I could meet them regularly in maybe in your platform in the nearby webinars.
Yes, sir. Sure, it will happen, sir. We have purchased Zoom for 1 year yesterday. So till
Okay,
August
very good.
2021.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
we are going to organize, not
Yes, sir.
regularly like this. We don't want to bore all of our physiotherapists,
Yes.
but monthly
Yes, sir.
twice like that we are planning. Sure,
Yes,
there
sir.
will be more webinars coming also, sir. Even after setting the world record on
Yes, sir.
September 8th. So we are planning for the world record also. We have
Yes, sir.
crossed more than 100 now.
All the best for your efforts, sir. Certainly, we are with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That's what I wanted to say. Actually, my effort is 10%. I should thank all the resource persons because they sat for 1 week, 10 days, 15 days.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
it will be like they put a lot of effort in it,
Yes,
not
sir.
just simply come and
Yeah.
just go with it.
Mm.
So the effort of all the resource persons work is the result of this, sir. Otherwise,
sir.
we may not get a participant. It is not
Yes, sir.
easy to make someone to sit for 1 hour. Instead of this, they will go and watch their favorite serial or comedy show or a movie. But people are attending it because they know that the topics and the resource persons are work, and we should
Yes, sir.
utilize this opportunity. Even in a question of Ms. Shalini, she was
Yes, sir.
like whether it is
Yes,
the
sir.
right platform to ask or not. Her question was like that.
Yeah.
People are having doubts, they don't know where to get clarified. Maybe our physiotherapist community are utilizing this.
Yes, sir.
I request Zoom participants to note down Dr. Senthil Selvam's ID, email ID is there, and if anybody needs it, YouTube viewers, you can message us. We will also giving it to you along with his contact number also. Of course, we are belonging to same community,
Yeah.
physiotherapist family, yes, and don't hesitate. And in case if you need any help for research purpose, also you can approach him. I think so.
Sure, sir.
Yes, and I thank you for sharing so much, sir, and patiently answering all the questions.
Yes, sir.
Even if it sounds silly, also they have asked it. No question is silly.
Yes, sir.
The
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
same doubt might be there for many other physiotherapists.
Yes, sir.
Especially, why do you need a mother article? It may sound silly, but it is a valid question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. A research
Maybe
point of view, we have to accept all the questions. Maybe a silly one or a good one. Each and every question has to be addressed. Answering the research question itself an art. A researcher should know everything. He should know each ABCD of his research work has to be well known to him so that he can just address this to the readers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. According to me, there is no such thing called a silly question.
Yes.
It's a clear doubt.
Yes, sir.
The same question might be in thousands of physiotherapists' mind. Thanks for that participant to raising the question in our platform. So those who are watching this episode in YouTube will get clarified. And thank you for all the Fitness and Rehab India YouTube viewers too. I thank EXRX India team members, Dr. Rupesh, Professor Duna Saha, and today's new host, Miss Simran from PD Women's College, and she is one among our website designer. Thanks for being here. And once again, I thank Dr. Senthil Selvam for a wonderful session. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.